is Henry Kasada. My name is Henry Kasada. I'm a supply chain professional. I did my first degree from Chambogo and I did procurement and logistics. From there on, I've been in the world of work for over 10 years. And as well, I'm a evening alumnus. In the 2019, I scooped a evening scholarship. So that one directly answers the question you really asked. Because in 2019, I got a evening scholarship and I went to UK to study at Cranfield University, where I did procurement and supply chain. And 3 months ago, I won a fully funded PhD scholarship to go and study sustainable procurement and supply chain at Lancaster University in the United Kingdom. So precisely, it confirms that the scholarships are there and people are getting them. I think that I have been able to answer it. Maybe today I'm going to be so much on the PhD. But as you have heard, I'm also a evening alumnus, so I applied for a master's scholarship and also got it. But for today, I incline more on the PhD side. How did the PhD journey start? Immediately I finished my master's at Cranfield, I started thinking about the PhD.
Henry, do you want to put in the presentation mode your slides?
Oh, yes. Not okay. Just a second. I think this is done. Yeah, I think that's, can you see my screen?
Yes, you can see them very well.
Yeah, so as soon as I finished my MSc at Cranfield, that was 2020 during the COVID time, I started thinking about the PhD because the masters had the professionally really changed the thinking I had about the supply chains, and I thought I needed to go and study more to understand the field better and be able to contribute to the country and the world at large. So I looked at so many areas, and the first thing I did was to look at the area I wanted to research in. I looked at so many things, but for me, what intrigued me most when I was doing the MSc was the sustainability, was the issue of sustainability in supply chains. Having been in a country like Uganda, where sustainability up to now, I would say, has been taken lightly, I thought it was an area that I would explore more. So the idea came. So that one was taking me to the PhD research. But of course, at that time, funding was a challenge. I first prepared the first application in 2021, and I applied to 2 universities. I applied at the University of Kent and University of Warwick. I was admitted, but I failed to secure the funding. That was the first time I applied in 2021. Then I sat there. I almost lost interest because I applied in 2021. I failed to secure the funding. I applied again in 2022. Still, I couldn't secure the funding. But of course, I could not give up. I could not give up. Giving up wasn't in my mind. Those 2 failures laid the foundation for the success because I didn't give up. and I remained on the vision focused on securing the funding for the PhD. So in 2023, I again sat down and asked myself, where have I been going wrong in my PhD application? Of course, the moment you fail to secure an application, 100%, actually about 80% of the times, the challenge is on your application in most cases, because PhD funding is very, very competitive, very competitive. So I sat down, I realized maybe I wasn't preparing competitive applications. Then two, I looked at the supervisors, because a supervisor sometimes might also determine whether you get the funding or not. So I sat down and went back on the drawing board. I listed, the first thing I did was to first list again 5 universities where I wanted to pursue my PhD from. First on the list was Cranfield University, where I done the MSc from. Second on the list was University of Manchester. Third was Lancaster University. Fourth was Warwick, and fifth was Cardiff University. Then after that, the next thing was to look for supervisors. I looked at the profiles of professors at Cranfield. None had interest in sustainable supply chains. So I crossed out Cranfield. Although it was a highly ranking university, the professors there, none was researching specifically in my area of interest, which was sustainability in supply chains. I went to university number 2, which was Manchester. I found a supervisor that was interested in sustainable supply chains. I made the contact, and he gave me positive news that he was interested in working with me. Then I went to university number 3, which was Warwick. I reached out to a professor, but unfortunately, the professor didn't respond. I went to university number 4, which was Lancaster. I contacted 2 professors and out of the 2, at least one responded and said, please, you send me your research proposal. And I also contacted a professor at University of Cardiff. She also responded positively and asked me to prepare a proposal and share. So in summary, I got positive feedback from about, out of 5 universities, about 4 universities, and then professors. I got positive feedback from 4 professors. So the second thing was to sit down and craft a proposal. Crafting a proposal can be challenging, but the professor at Manchester didn't, I think she was very, very busy. That's why maybe ahead there, I will also discuss the kind of professors you need to look out for. Those renowned professors sometimes are good. They are very renowned. They've done a lot of work, but they may not have time for you to guide you through while crafting a proposal. So it is also important to look at the caliber of professors you're looking out for. I discovered that it could be better to look for professors who I think the mid-career professors could be much better, because they are very interested in taking on students, and 2, they want to also improve their profiles. But by supervising PhD students. So that one, of course, I discovered it after some time. So I wrote the proposal. The professor at Manchester University didn't have so much time for me. That one I also gave up along the way. But I discovered the professor at Lancaster and the professor at Cardiff. They were very, very passionate and very helpful. I wrote the first draft I shared, and within one day, she had actually responded and given me feedback. So I discovered those two would be very good professors to work with. I crafted the proposals. They said the proposals are okay, and then they asked me to submit the formal applications to those universities. So I submitted it to University of Lancaster and University of Cardiff. After submission, I think within a period of 1 month, I was admitted. Now, admissions are always the easy part. The very difficult part is securing the funding. So the professor at Lancaster advised me on the available funding opportunities at Lancaster University. So what I did, she like listed the sources of funding at Lancaster, and and the department nominated me for 2 funding at Lancaster. The same applies to Cardiff University. I applied and I was nominated for 3 funding opportunities at Cardiff University. And Lancaster, I think I applied around December, and in May this year, I succeeded in securing the funding for 2 fundings actually at Lancaster University. Then in July, Cardiff University also gave me a funding. So I now had 2 fundings from Lancaster and 1 at Cardiff University. I sat down, I looked at the ranking of the universities and also the experience of the professors that I was going to work with, and I decided to select Lancaster University. But I would say, 1, you need commitment to apply for a PhD funding. Lancaster, the management school, a whole school, had only 3 funding slots. A whole school having 3 funding slots for what PhD, it means they are highly competitive. So it means you're going to compete with the very best, not only in Africa, not only in Uganda, but globally. So that means you must sit down and prepare a highly competitive application. And that one takes you to the statement of what purpose, why do you want the PhD? Very, very important. You must put up a very strong justification. And then your research proposal must clearly identify a gap that you're going to research to provide the solutions to a gap that you're going to actually close. So those are very, very key. Your statement of purpose, which people would actually call the motivation, your motivation, why do you want to pursue the PhD? And then your research proposal. Those are very, very important for you. And then your recommenders. You must have people who are going to talk about you, who are going to put you up there and support your funding applications. So, and that one takes us to networking. If you left university some years back, you need to keep in touch with your university professors, because in most universities, they need at least 1 academic reference. So you must stay in touch with your university professors, and then any other recommender. It is very, very key. What else? So So I was explaining the process I went through. You researched the ideas, you explored the avenues of funding. That one I talked about. You check eligibility of the funding you're going to apply for. Very key, because you may find you qualify for funding A, but you do not qualify for funding B. So it is very clear you check the eligibility, whether you tick every box for that funding. I talked about developing a strong proposal. That is very key. And sometimes it's important to align your proposal with the funding priorities. For example, when I was applying at Cardiff University, there was a funding that was basically funding sustainable projects in what area of sustainability. So that one means you must align your proposal to the requirements of the funding. Then clarity and the impact of your research proposal. Those two must come out very, very clearly. Then you must build strong academic and professional profiles. That will actually take us to your academic references, that people talk to, and even people who are going to even guide you through the process. Sometimes it is also key to highlight your relevant experience to the PhD, maybe the academic experience, maybe the professional experience. You need to also highlight and properly align them to your university. Then seek recommendations. That one took us to the networking you must do with your former university professors to make sure you stay in contact with them, such that in case you need a reference letter, you can easily secure it. I networked and sought guidance. Wilson was very, very important, actually. I remember when I was going for interviews, we spent like 1 hour on phone seeking ideas where I can improve, where I can impress. For most PhD fundings, there is an interview that you must go through. The first one could be between you and your supervisors, and then it could be between you and the funding organization. So you must come across professionally. So you need to prepare very well for such interviews. And that one means you must consult people. For me, I consulted so many people. And then connecting with mentors, that one I talked about it. I paid attention to the application details. You must pay attention to the small details in the application requirements. I prepared very well for the interviews, but what is also important is persistence and patience. I told you the journey for applying for PhD funding started in 2021. So I applied in 2021. I was not successful. And I applied in 2022. I wasn't successful either. So you need persistence and sometimes patience. Then what is also very important, some fundings are extremely very competitive. Therefore, it is good to do multiple applications. Apply to more than one university. You cast your nets wider. Even if you're going to put up a very strong application, sometimes you're not sure. Because remember, you're competing for funding globally. You're going to compete with very wonderful candidates. You might be excellent, but there are other applicants who are equally better. So it is always important that you cast your nets wider. Don't apply to only a single funding. Apply to more than one funding, such that you have widened your scope. And unless that's it from me funding to what else advantage out.
Henry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Great, and thank you so much for sharing this very wonderful experience with the prospective mentees on the call. And thank you so much, because your story is really inspiring. In your opinion, and I want to pick, let me begin from Chevening. In your opinion, what do you think made you successful for the Chevening application? Let's begin from Chevening of 2019.
Of course, the number of reasons is Chevening. Maybe I also need to give a brief background. Chevening, I got it in 2019, but I did application in 2015. In 2015, I made my first application, but I will be very open with you. I didn't give it time. I thought it is easy. You just write something and submit. I wrote an application. It wasn't very, very compelling. And indeed, I wasn't shortlisted. So that one tells you that scholarship fundings are highly competitive. You don't just submit. If you're not ready, please don't waste time. You must pay attention to your application and prepare a compelling application. Then too, it is very important to consult people, especially those that have prepared scholarship applications before. However much you're good, there are some angles that you may not be able to see at that time, and you can easily be focused by a mentee or somebody else that has been there before. So it is important that don't just submit an application, prepare a competitive and a compelling application, and consult people who have been there. It is very key. So the first time I applied for Chevening, I wasn't successful, but I discovered I had not given it time. Now, the second time I made the application was 2018. And in the 2018, I prepared a very good application and I made the shortlist. But again, I made a mistake and I never prepared for the oral interviews. I prepared a wonderful application and didn't prepare for the oral interviews. I went for the oral interviews. I wasn't prepared at all and I didn't succeed. Now in 2019, I prepared a very good application and I gave it to so many people to read through the essays, especially Chevening. What is important are those essays. The essay on leadership, essay on networking, essay on your career plans. They are very, very important because those determine who is going to be shortlisted and who is not going to be shortlisted. So I paid attention and I even consulted the colleagues and mentors. And when I was shortlisted, I went for the next stage, which was oral. I made sure I left no stone unturned. I prepared, I read a lot and prepared for those oral interviews. And indeed, I succeeded.
Yeah. Henry, I think
that was about the Chevening.
Yeah, Henry, that's clear. I want to bring Maria. Then I have a second question. Maria, kindly go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Abel. Thank you so much, Henry. Personally, I'm not asking, but I just want to express my excitement because I'm also a supply and procurement scholar seeking for a master's degree, not a PhD though. And Henry, I want to declare that I'm going to tie myself on you properly so that I get some help in the field, because I'm also applying for chevening right now, and I'm very sure I will use a lot of your help. Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maria. And Maria is among my mentees. So, and actually you share the page together with Henry, but you didn't know each other. Let me bring Joyce. Joyce, you're welcome. I know you're preparing to shoot highest, and you've had the rigor and the resilience from Henry. Please go shoot at it.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you, Henry, for those insightful ideas that you've given us this evening. I'm really wondering, your journey seems to be long. For someone like me who doesn't have much time, like I'm on a clock, how can I make it faster? Because I do not think I can go through all those rejections.
I should tell you that Henry is very proactive. Henry has a very high speed of typing and texting on LinkedIn. Henry can type 7 messages in 1 minute. 1 second, I think. Henry, please, you tell her how you manage and how you were able to navigate your busy schedule. I remember you had to fly and then you have to manage this. You share your story.
Okay, thank you so much. I actually, to me, what I think, a rejection is supposed to energize you. Because sometimes we fail to secure scholarships, not because we are not good, but sometimes we actually against very good candidates. And if you do not have time, even myself, I would say, procurement is a very busy job, and if you're currently working and you see how your procurement people work, I was actually working. Amidst all of that, I was working and in a highly busy and sensitive office. But I would sometimes work late. After 5, I would write essays, write one today, the following day delete it, the next day write another one. So you need to, I know time may not be there, but you need to create time, because it is a highly rigorous exercise, and be sure sometimes rejection is come, but they should be able to energize you and even shoot higher. That's what I would say. Rejection is I've seen so many chiviners and so many other scholarship recipients, but they have gone through rejections before. So a rejection shouldn't discourage you. It is part of the game. It's not that you're bad, maybe your application was very bad, but there might have been those small things that distinguish between the successful scholarship recipients and those ones rejected. So don't despair because you have failed this time. It should just energize you, and you can actually use it as a learning point to make a much stronger application the following year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Henry, for sharing that. Me and Dr. Dan Msenguzi, who is on the call, we are writing a paper on how to overcome rejections. Because we received them regarding scholarship applications, but by the way, scholarships are rejections are the order of the day. They are always there. You're going to find them in scientific papers. You're going to find them in different places. For example, today, I have just received the rejection from one of my papers. Actually, the first PhD paper which we submitted, the journal has rejected it. But they've given us the three reviewers who reviewed our paper all of them have given us a write-up of where they think we should improve. to make our paper better. Now, I didn't see the email earlier. So my supervisor saw the email before me. So he's like, Abel, we have received the rejection. I know it may seem disappointing, but let's discuss it on Thursday. So we have a meeting on Thursday to discuss the comments they've given us, because we think the feedback from 3 people on one paper is important to make it better or shape it or improve it. So we are writing a paper with Dr. Danny Musinguzo on how to overcome rejections and how to handle them, how to go around them. And once you learn the skill, once you learn the attitude, the rest, it becomes part of the game. Like Henry has said, it's part of the journey. It's part of the journey, because you write grants, you write 7 grants, and you get 5 rejections, and then you get 1 grant or 2 grants in. So so you get rejections in grants, rejection is in job applications, rejection is in fellowship applications, rejection is in relationships, because you can apply, you can request for a person for a relationship, and she rejects or he rejects, and it's normal, and life goes on. So thank you, Henry, and thank you for sharing that story. I personally had up to 68 rejections during the journey for searching for scholarships. But once I got a mentor, we were able to turn tables upside down, and within a space of 2 months, we had 3 open scholarships for my PhD, and we had to choose which one to go with. Of course, the other 2 people got annoyed, got angry, because they badly wanted to take me on. But we had to make a decision and go with the University of Cambridge. So we are writing a paper on that with Dr. Dan, and we shall be able to share that soon. Okay, so Henry, let me, as we are still waiting for more questions to come through. Henry, I want to pick up your story. I remember when you contacted me, when you were the first time you contacted me, you were shooting and you were wondering which supervisor we should shoot at and how we should craft this email. This, how should we contact them? But the other time is when they had invited you for an interview for a very short time, right? I think the email came in today and they wanted you like a tomorrow. And I was like, sure. I told you that it was a very important time. And I said, if we are to handle it well, we would bring the scholarship home. Can you just share that story?
Okay. Now, after preparing a proposal and submitting to both Lancaster and Cardiff, I think it was Cardiff University. I submitted the full application today. The following day, the professor contacted me and said, please, we need to interview you. And at that point, I'd never gone through any PhD interview. And the first thing I did was to run to Wilson and asked the man, how is, it was on short notes, because like I received the email today, the interview was the following day. And then I had actually to go on YouTube, listening to so many people, get this idea, get the other idea. But lucky enough, that interview was very, very simple, I would say, because the supervisor wanted to understand me better. And I think her interest was, she wanted to be sure that I was interested in the PhD, because the question is zeroed on my commitment to the PhD, basically. She said, well, I've looked at your proposal. Your proposal is very compelling, but I want to understand the reasons why you want a PhD, and I want to understand whether you're really committed. Indeed, she gave me statistics that that in 5 students who were admitted for a PhD, at least 2 drop out before completion. So most funders are not interested in funding a person who who doesn't have the commitment to do the PhD. So her interest was to be very sure that the interest was there. So now here I'm guiding, in case you get a chance to interview with the potential supervisor, showing a commitment is very, very, very important. Your passion for a PhD should clearly come out. Of course, they are going to ask you for the reasons why you want a PhD. Don't actually give those answers, prestige, blah, blah, blah. No, you must give very good reasons why you want a PhD that are going to show a commitment that you're really interested in the PhD. But as well, you need to prepare in case your supervisor asks for an interview. Prepare, consult. For me, I consulted Abe, I consulted YouTube, and I consulted other people. So it is very important that you prepare and you come across professionally before your supervisors. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to ask Dr. Dan to say a point there, because Dr. Dan and myself, we are screening candidates to mentor on that particular aspect of why do you want to do this. But I want to request Dr. Dan to share his experience regarding that big question. We call it the big why with Dr. Dan. And once we get candidates who are clear with the big why, we get certain that they can defend their case. Dr. Dan, do you want to share a leaf or two on how many you are screening of? As of today morning, I've so far screened of 57 people who have come to me for coaching, and I've not taken them on because when I ask them, why do you want to do a master's? Literally, they don't know. Literally, they just tell you that they see their colleagues are doing it and they think time is going and they think it is their time. They think they should do this at this time in their life because they want to finish everything with academics and they go away. So I kept asking them, why do you want to do this? And so far, people are not able to answer why they want to do a master's. So they're like, let me go and think about it, and they don't come back. Dr. Dan, do you want to share your experience briefly and a message to the PhD candidates?
Thank you, Abel. Thank you, Henry, for those beautiful insights. Now, to your question, Abel, in fact, on a daily basis, I keep screening people, and it's the same question I ask them: why do you need a PhD? What's that big why? And to be honest, the results are disappointing. It seems to me that people want just to go for scholarships to study abroad, but they really don't know why. Especially at the PhD level, when I ask some people, I say, okay, what are you researching on? What's the research problem? Have you identified some potential supervisors? Which university, by the way? And why that university or those universities? And why that field? Basically, you get a very raw answer that I don't know. Could you please help me and suggest some universities and some potential supervisors? I tell them, me doing research for you, you're a PhD student, I mean prospective student. Basically, I tell them that you are not ready. And sometimes it's very good to admit that I'm not ready for this, so let me go and do some more work. But what I see people doing is that most of the people who have contacted me, they don't come back. And even when you ask them questions, they become angry. I've had a number of prospective applicants accusing me of being too hard because I ask a lot of questions. And they say that your questions are different. Like they are not the usual questions. Yes. And I don't apologize for this because I know at the PhD level, when you go for the PhD studies, your supervisor will be asking you a lot of questions and supervisors don't provide answers. And one thing that I have noticed especially with Ugandans. People want to be given information. They don't want to search for information. People will ask, what's a concept note? Imagine somebody going for a PhD is asking, what's a concept note? Okay. What's a scholarship? What's a studentship? What's assistantship? So you find that most of our people are yet to understand what these things are. And if you are here and you're looking for a PhD scholarship, invest a lot of time in researching for yourself. Don't allow to be given fish, but learn how to fish so that you can feed yourself for a lifetime. Searching for information, because when you go for that PhD, what you'll be doing every morning, afternoon, and evening is to conduct research and find some information. So one question to Henry, you talked about writing a compelling research proposal is key. I'd like to know what's that research problem that you're trying to explore regarding sustainability and which other area? Procurement, something like that. What's that research gap? Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Mine, I would say it is a simple one, but you have actually brought it well. I think it would be the generation now that people, especially Ugandans, do not want to read. I've also experienced that people come to you, they want to apply for a scholarship, but they want you to give them information, every detail. Then you're like, but really, if you can't search for information, then you come with discuss when you already have some information. Then it means you're not ready, for sure. And very many are doing that. They want scholarships, they don't understand what scholarships are. Okay, Doctor, to go to your question, my research project is on social sustainability in supply chains. Social sustainability, I will give you an example. Let me give an example. Let's take an example of tea. I've found the Ugandan tea on UK shelves, but UK has what we call Modern Slavery Legislation Act of 2001 that mandates companies that have supply chains that are extended, that they must monitor and have a visibility of their supply chains. So when you're a tea, maybe a supermarket in the UK selling tea that is being grown in Uganda, you must be sure that the supply chain of this tea, farmers are not using child labor in farming, that these farmers here are being paid a fair price. So that's the research gap, that most of the people enjoying the tea in UK do not have a complete visibility of the supply chain, and especially in the global south. The supply chains here are very opaque, but inside there are so many social sustainability issues that are happening, and very few researchers have picked interest in the global south supply chains. Yet it's very important to understand that most of the products sold in the developed world, their supply chains originate here. So my interest is to understand those social sustainability issues in the global south supply chains.
Yeah, and Dr. Dan is very happy about that. You are not after being called Dr. So-and-so. You're not after proving to people that even somebody from the other village can get a PhD. Dr. Dan is very proud of you because of... Dr. Dan is very proud of you because of that response. I have asked 4 of prospective PhD candidates. I asked them, why do you want to do a PhD? And somebody told me good question. And this is the second month. They haven't yet gotten back to me. Not yet. I know, second week. No, this is the fourth week. They haven't yet gotten back to me. They just said, good question. They haven't yet gotten back to me. And actually, there's one. She's from Burkina Faso. She paid for the coaching services. And I asked her, what is that fundamental issue that you want to address when you come back after your master's? Because we are going to use that, we are going to leverage that as a basis for why we need this master's and why we have chosen this particular one, not any other master's, but why we have chosen this one. So I asked her, what do you want to address when you come back of the master's, when you're done with the master's? And she just put an emoji holding her mouth. And this is the third week. She hasn't yet gotten it back. Yet she's supposed to be responding to equity and merit scholarship applications. So she hasn't even begun on that because she doesn't really know what she wants to address when she comes back. But she paid for the coaching services. Okay, so Henry, just as I let you go, what do you think you did differently that made you excel? Of course, you've said you demonstrated commitment for the PhD, you demonstrated the passion and zeal, but also you clearly showed you had identified a very novel area.
Hello? I'm losing you, Abe. Can you hear me?
Yeah, apologies. We lost inter. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Henry, can you hear me?
Abe, to be precise, what I did differently, I would talk about two things only. One is commitment, and then two, research. I was very committed. Even when I received the rejections, they didn't shake me an inch because I knew those ones were foundation for the success. Then two was research. I would consult. You remember I looked for you. As soon as I received an invitation for an interview, I looked for you and I looked for other people as well. So I know that the banda say nti amagezi muliro bwobato gulino ogendo wa munono kolachi no gufuna. So I know that I cannot monopolize knowledge. There are so many people out there that I can go to and I consult to make myself better. So what I did different was the commitment, the resilience, and then the power to consult people whom I thought had the knowledge that would help me succeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we are on top of the hour. I don't see many questions in the chat, but let me see if we have any for now. Otherwise, we meet every Tuesday, 7 to 8 p.m. Ugandan time. Same Zoom link and different topics and different speakers. We have 19 successes. We have 13 master scholarships won, and we have 6 PhD scholarships won. We will be bringing them. So be ready to hear their story, be ready to hear their hard work. And if you can notice, it is their hard work. Even within the time I had with Henry on LinkedIn, he was very proactive, and I would see a very committed person, very, very committed. Henry, what is that advice you want to give to a prospective PhD student who is beginning to search and define the niche, defining where they want to focus? What's your advice to them?
Okay, thank you. The one, supervisors are always interested in listening to new problems and new ideas. So as you're looking for a niche where you're going to research, try as much as possible to come up with something new. especially those professors who have been around for some time. They have actually seen so many things. So you need to demonstrate that you can bring up something new. Every supervisor are always interested to look at something new. So don't just recycle ideas. You look for new and better ideas. And even funders are always willing to fund new ideas. I thank you. Then Maria had shown interest to work with me somehow, maybe to mentor her. I'm leaving my contact in the chat. And in case anyone else is interested, I'm leaving my contact in the chat, the email, and the contact. But I always welcome only those students that are serious about what they intend to achieve. If you're not serious, don't waste your time. Only those ones that are really serious on what they intend to achieve. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Henry, and we will keep in touch with you. Members, please, you receive Henry's contacts. I want to tell you that Henry is a very serious person in communication. Please get to him when you're ready to communicate. He responds on time. Chap, 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 chap. At least I know that about Henry. Henry, thanks for your time and good luck with your PhD. We will keep hosting you to see how the story is unfolding.
Thank you, Abe. The first number I put was wrong. I've just put another one right now. I think you shouldn't copy the first one. I missed a digit. I missed a 9. So this one down is okay. Sorry. Thank you, Abe. And thank you, Dr. Musinguzi.
Great.